Well, welcome to the morning of day 2. Oh man, last night I didn't really sleep very well because I thought that maybe just sleeping under that Whoopee poncho liner would keep me warm enough, coupled with the down under quilt, and I was wrong. After freezing for quite a while, I decided to get up, and I had to kind of need to get up to go to the bathroom anyway, but I did that, and I zipped the under quilt over the top of the hammock, kind of like a sleeping bag. That made a big difference. That helped me. Of course, then I slid down too far, and I think my feet were sticking out of it, so that's why they stayed cold the whole time. But anyway, last night wasn't the most fun, I guess, but oh well. Should have just brought my down sleeping bag, and then I wouldn't have had any problems at all sleeping in the hammock. But looks like it got down. My thermometer says it got down to about 34, 35 degrees Fahrenheit maybe, so not quite freezing. And it's starting to inch up, even from when I first checked it. That's about 48 degrees now. I think tonight's supposed to be a little bit warmer. If I remember right, one night was supposed to be cooler than the other, and that must have been last night then, because it's not supposed to get below freezing. But I just need to get the fire going and get some breakfast made, and probably find some more firewood, and maybe do a little hiking around or something later on today. But yeah, that's where we're at. That's what we're doing. So let's get this fire going. Sure, this thing will light up well. Some water on for coffee. Yep, that's not gonna work. There we go. for some coffee. Coffee grounds all over the place. This pot definitely doesn't, this mess kit pot doesn't pour nearly as nice as my Morris pot. I'm going to toast up some English muffins. It's going to have to be really careful and watch those. It's pretty hot down there. Those don't look bad at all. I wish I had some jam, but I don't. Oh well. Okay, don't ask me why I didn't toast the bottom side of it. I don't know. Still good though. I'd like some good, strong campfire coffee. But I guess by saying campfire coffee, I don't mean cowboy coffee. But nice English muffin. Yeah, some jam would be nice, but it's alright. I kind of feel like I should have something to talk about. But I don't really. Since I've been out here, I just have really felt, I don't know, I've just kind of felt like kicking back and kicking back. I guess that's probably kind of the whole point, really. I mean, I took a couple days off of work to come out on this trip. That way I could stay out longer. And this was a break from work, and I feel like that's what I'm, you know, I'm taking it easy, not having to go to work, so it's serving its purpose. It's good to be able to enjoy these little times of just getting away and, you know, number one, just getting away from the crazy stuff that life kind of requires of us in the modern day and age, and then also to just be able to get outside, enjoy being outside, enjoy being closer to nature. Sometimes you can almost forget those sort of things, just to appreciate being out. You know, this trip turned out to be a little bit different than I expected, because I was going to go camp out at the other place that was flooded out, and I had been looking forward to camping there for a couple months, and then I get there and I realized that that probably wasn't going to be an option. No, the place where I was intending to camp out there was not underwater. It's actually on a hill, so it was totally safe from the floodwater, but I wasn't sure if I was supposed to drive back to where I would have to have driven to park my truck. They had a road closed sign out, and it's one of those ones you could drive around, but I couldn't tell if, you know, if they wouldn't care if I had gone past it and parked where I did or not. So I just decided to come here because this place is not very far away from the other one. But yeah, you know, I'll just the way things work. You have to be flexible when you do stuff outdoors. Well, this trip, which is, we're now basically mid to late March, was the first time that I've gotten out and done an overnight camp out since back in January. And it seemed like a lot of the time, the reason why I couldn't get out and do an overnight camp out is just because the weather was not cooperating. There was a lot of just kind of nasty wet weather, which you know, the roads were just in very bad shape, and it wasn't really I mean, if you want to go out and get stuck on a muddy road, you know, that's you could get out, I guess, but I didn't want to get stuck, so, you know, stuff like that foiled my plans several times, especially back in February, and then even in March, we still had basically a continuation of that same thing. So this kind of seemed like the weather has been kind of conspiring against me getting out and camping, and even now when, you know, it's nicer, we have all this flood water that's come down from Nebraska, basically, that's filled up the river that, you know, fills this reservoir, and the other place was flooded out. So, you know, Mother Nature's still working against me, it seems like. Here in about 2 weeks, a friend of mine and I are going to go do an adventure race, which it's a race where there's a segment where you ride a bike. There's a segment where you, I guess, ride a mountain bike. There's a segment where you have to, like, walk or run or hike or whatever, where I guess they give you just a map and you have to use a compass to navigate. And then there's a section where you paddle a canoe, and my friend Justin at work, he ran across it and asked me about it, and we're doing it. I don't know how well that's going to work. Well, I mean, it should be interesting. I know I am unfortunately not in very good shape currently, and I could stand to lose several pounds again, which is just kind of the story of my life. I lose weight and then I gain it back a lot. But it should be fun, it should be interesting. unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to do much video-wise with it. I might try to kind of put something together, but you know, I probably won't be dragging my camera along with me. Not this camera. But it's actually about 12:30 now. Kind of got a late start this morning because, well, I didn't sleep very well because I was cold pretty much all night. And then when I got up and I fixed things with the, kind of reconfigured my underquilt so I could zip it up over me. That led me to, it kind of came over me somewhat, so it kept it nice and dark, so I couldn't tell that the sun had been out for quite a while, and I didn't set an alarm. So by the time I got up, it was about 9:30 or so, which was later than I planned on getting up. So I slept in quite a bit, but it basically wasn't really intentional. But the plan for today is to just hang out. I might do a little hiking around. There's a lot of equestrian trails in this area. That's what I was kind of hiking along and exploring a little bit yesterday. I might do a little bit more of that today. Just gonna hang out, enjoy things, and cook some food tonight. I brought my Dutch oven out, so I haven't used my Dutch oven in probably about a year and a half. I think I'm gonna cook up an apple cobbler, so that should be good. But yeah, you know, just hang out, enjoy having the time off, enjoy being out in nature. I have some pieces of hardwood on there. I think it's oak, burning down because I'm going to need some coals to cook the cobbler in the Dutch oven. So I'm trying to get a little ahead of the game tonight and not leave it quite so long. That way, hopefully I'm not cooking it in the dark for too long. It's about 5 o'clock now, so maybe with a little luck, I'll actually have some daylight to cook in. Well, it's a Friday night during Lent, so as a Catholic, can't eat meat. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to mix up some sort of, I don't even know what to call it. I'm just going to say that it's a concoction. I have this Knorr Asian Sides teriyaki noodles there, and I have a can of mackerel. I don't know if you can see that. Can of mackerel. It's fish. Somewhere I ran across a video on YouTube. I'll have to see if I can find it and put a little link to it. But somebody was saying how he really recommended using mackerel to mix with other stuff because he says it's not that fishy. I've had mackerel before, not necessarily this particular type, but I thought it tasted really good, so I figured I'd give it a shot. I'm going to throw the mackerel, and in a, I think I'm just going to use my German mess kit. Put some extra water in there, just kind of see how this turns out. I might throw some buckwheat in there. I have some buckwheat and even some rice, so I'll see how it works out. But anyway, I think it'll probably wind up tasting pretty good anyway. Oh yeah, the fun of opening cans. Ooh, I'm about to lose my coffee. think this can opener design, where it actually has the cutting thing on the front, works a little bit better than at least that one of that Boy Scout knife I have. I mean, they both work, but I think these ones work a little bit better. Yeah, because it's already open. Looks like there's some herbs or something in there. I'm going to keep all that in there. All that juice. Well, I have about a liter of water in this German mess kit. So I'm just going to bring that to a boil. All right, we're boiling. Dump in the noodly stuff. On the directions, it suggests that you add about a tablespoon of butter, a tablespoon of oil or margarine. So I'm gonna just toss in about a tablespoon of butter. I'll add my fish. Trying to do this without spilling stuff all over the place. Oh wow, it's actually like a whole little fish in there. Gutted fish. Oh boy. Now we'll just, well, I don't know, maybe I should break up those fish a little bit. I mean, it's like basically whole pieces of fish. Break those up a bit. All right. Put this back on the fire to simmer. And of course my pot supporter stick doesn't want to hold it up. Guess I need to throw more weight on it. Well, now that I'm done about spilling everything, yeah, looks like we're doing okay. I moved it up a little bit, so hopefully it'll simmer a little bit more. Okay, well, I've taken off my my fish concoction, and I just have it cooling, so I figured I better get the Dutch oven heated up here, and I'll get the cobbler put together so we can start baking. It's starting to lose some light, so I figured I better get on this sooner than later. Get some coals here. don't want to overdo it on the coals. Give you a few more here. Secret to Dutch oven baking, obviously, is knowing how to use just the right amount of coals. I have a few little rocks in there to keep my pan that I'm going to put in there up off of the bottom, so it doesn't directly transfer the heat right through to the bottom of my cobbler. I'm going to let that start heating up a bit. This is a 12-inch Dutch oven. I'm going to put some coals on top and get the top preheated. There we go. All right, time to throw this cobbler together. This is just a cake pan. Hopefully it's not too big for the amount of cobbler I'm making, but it's going to dump some regular old apple pie filling in there. And this is a cobbler recipe, I guess you want to call it that I learned a long time ago back in Boy Scouts. And a couple months ago I saw a video that Dan Wowak put up on his YouTube channel, Coal Cracker Bushcraft, where it was like a quick and easy cobbler recipe. It was basically the same exact thing I'm doing here. So just dump some, it's going to be a pretty thin layer, but just dump some pie filling in there. Because this pan is as wide as it is, I'm not going to worry about covering the whole bottom necessarily, but then on top of this you just put some cheap old like generic cake mix. This is just some store brand yellow cake mix. Kind of cover the top with some of that. That's probably good. And this is what Dan Wowak's recipe consisted of, just this here, and then bake it. I'm going to add a little bit of the squeeze margarine stuff to the top of it, just because that's the way we used to do it way back when in Boy Scouts. Just kind of drizzle a bit of that on the top. Probably use butter, or like slices of butter or anything you want, or just skip it all together. But there's the cobbler ready to go in the oven. I'll lift the lid up here. It's starting to get warm in there. I think I'm actually going to throw some extra coals on here. I think you could probably use a little bit more. There we go. Put my cobbler in there, and then we'll put the lid back on. I'll put some extra coals on top of that now. Based on the fact there's some pine needles around, I'm going to watch this really carefully, make sure nothing lights on fire. I did kind of clear it out a little bit, but it seems to have... Surely a whole bunch of pine needles didn't fall down just in the last couple hours, but it seems a little less clear than I thought it was. But you just do have to make sure that your oven doesn't have too many coals on it, that it doesn't get too hot. That's the main part of learning how to bake in a Dutch oven. Back when I was in Boy Scouts, we pretty much just put a big thick layer of coals underneath, just piled the top with as many coals that it would hold, and it's pretty much how we always baked on these things. And I think it's an amazing thing that we didn't burn stuff worse than we usually did when we baked in them. But I've since learned that you have to modulate things a little bit better than that. And some Dutch ovens actually have a little hole that you can stick a thermometer in there. This does, but I don't have a thermometer that'll work for that. That would make it a lot easier for you to know exactly how hot it is in there. Anyway, that's baking now. Well, it's time to dig into my lovely fish concoction, whatever you want to call it. I did add a little bit of buckwheat to it to help kind of soak up a little bit of that water that's in there, broth, whatever you want to call it. Tastes pretty good, but it does taste kind of fishy. But yeah, really, it's not bad. Still pretty hot. Yeah, you know, if you like fish, this tastes pretty decent. It was a little fishier than I kind of was expecting, but it's all right. Alright, so here it is. This thing has been baking for hours, I think. There's a little bit of a breeze blowing through here, and I think that's what made it such a challenge to keep the Dutch oven hot enough. But I'm done cooking it here. There we go. Finally did get that top to brown up a little bit. That's what was taking the longest, but yeah, that looks really good. I'm gonna let this cool off a little bit, and then we'll take a taste. It smells really good. I did sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon on top of this. That's why you can kind of see some of those dark spots there. And that is very good. Yeah, this is a pretty sugary cobbler, using the cake mix instead of you know, just making like some biscuit dough and putting it on top. But this is a quick, easy way to do it, and as long as you don't mind some sugar, you know, it's really tasty. I like baking stuff in a pan inside the Dutch oven. I mean, you can't just dump all this stuff right directly in the Dutch oven and bake it, and that works. But baking it in a pan with some little some sort of a spacer underneath of it to keep the pan off the bottom of the Dutch oven. Helps you not, burn the bottom or anything like that. But yeah, if you do this method where you put a pan inside there, it's probably going to extend your baking time. Like I said, it did take quite a while to bake this, but I do think part of that was the breeze cooling the Dutch oven off. But anyway, there you go. I've wanted to pull out the Dutch oven for quite a while and use it. So I finally did. Baked up a nice tasty cobbler, and yeah, it's a good way to go. Just be nice to have somebody to share the rest of this cobbler with. I'm definitely not going to be able to eat this all myself. Well, I'm ready to go to sleep. Night number 2. I'm hoping that tonight I sleep warmer than I did last night, because I'm going to start zipping my underquilt up around me and making sure my feet aren't sticking out the bottom. So I should be warmer tonight, I think. And quite possibly it's going to be raining when I get up. But I've brought all my stuff under the tarp here. And I added a smaller tarp up towards the east end where the wind is supposed to come from. So should help keep everything dry. So hopefully things aren't too much of a wet, rainy mess tomorrow morning while I'm packing up to leave. But anyway, I'm pretty sure I'll sleep dry enough in here tonight. And anyway, I'll see you tomorrow. Well, good morning. This is the morning after the second night. I slept warmer last night, so that's good. A lot warmer than the first night. Once I made some adjustments to my my gear setup. And it rained a little bit. I heard it raining some on the tarp, but it must not rain much because nothing's wet, and the tarp itself is dried off already. But it's windier than it has been, and I know that it's going to rain later today, so I kind of want to just get my stuff packed up and get out of here before it starts getting really wet and messy. If I have the time, I might try going back to that one place, and the place that was flooded out, and might hike around a little bit there, just a little bit, go check out like the spot I was thinking about camping in. But I figured I would just maybe make a little coffee and reheat some of the food from last night, eat that for breakfast, and just get my stuff packed up and get out of here. So that's the plan. Just kind of trying to beat the rain, essentially. At least when it comes to messing with my gear. I'm not as worried about getting out in it. I just don't want to. If I can avoid packing wet gear, I would rather avoid packing wet gear for obvious reasons. It's just simpler to deal with when you get home. But yeah, that's the plan. I'm just going to use, I brought my little MSR Pocket Rocket 2 stove, so I'll use that to heat some water in my food. Yeah, I got this little MSR Pocket Rocket 2 just about a year ago. I have to warn you guys, not that I really need any more stoves, but I did order the new and improved I get that thing to turn out. There we go. I did order the new and improved Pocket Rocket stove. It has some design features on it which seem really nice. lot of ways, this was a pretty good design, but I think they did even better on the newer version. Believe it or not, I actually think I may have made some coffee yesterday afternoon that was almost too potent. So I was drinking it and then I got a bit of a headache, and I almost wonder if it was a headache from too much caffeine. I put the stove next to this log to help give it a little bit of a windbreak until the stove cartridge got nice and cold, because it froze some bits of ground litter on there. Maybe it didn't freeze it, but it definitely stuck to it pretty well. I think this canister is almost empty, so probably gonna have to change out canisters while I heat up my food. Always warm it up a little bit. I could just eat it cold. Might as well use up that canister though, so I can throw it away. No reason to keep almost empty gas canisters around. You know, I was just thinking a little bit about these gas canister stoves. These seem to me that they're probably, and I've probably said this before, but it seems like nowadays among like the backpacking stove market, these seem to be the most popular type, you know, over white gas stoves, well, stoves that burn kerosene and stuff. We don't necessarily burn a lot of kerosene in the United States, I don't think, compared to some other countries, but there are some stoves that can burn kerosene, like my MSR Dragonfly is one. You can burn basically anything with that as long as you have the right jet for it. But you know, I believe now that you can actually buy these type of canisters with this fitting on them. I can't remember what it's called, but I think you can buy them at Walmart now. And like 20 years ago, I'm pretty sure you couldn't do that. I remember having to go to a dedicated outdoor store in order to find it wasn't this type of canister, but it was a butane propane canister. You know, I had to go to like an outdoor store to get those. That particular type of canister, I don't even think is used anymore. It didn't have the screw on top. It just had this little dimple in the middle of it, and you would kind of fit you had these little arms that would kind of fit around the canister, and then you'd screw the burner down into it, and then it was on there permanently, because if you took the thing off, all the gas would escape. So these are definitely better design. But yeah, I think that these are really you know, the go-to type stove nowadays for people, and they are a lot simpler. You know, all you do is, you know, you don't have to worry about pressurizing fuel or anything like that. You just have to make sure you have enough canisters. I don't know if they're, I mean, price-wise for fuel, I don't know if where these stand. I would kind of guess these are probably more expensive than other types of stoves. certainly alcohol stoves are not very common in the United States for some reason. I'm not really sure why that is. Or stoves that burn methylated spirits. But denatured alcohol, it's all the same thing. And it seems to me that, not that I pay a lot of attention to this, but it seems like there are more stoves, like more of the new stoves that are hitting the market are these gas canister type stoves. Maybe that's just me, but I don't really see companies putting out a lot of, like, our new and improved white gas stove type stove, things like that. I don't know, maybe that's just me, maybe they are and I'm not paying attention to it, but yeah. So yeah, I did get the new, sad thing is, my new MSR Pocket Rocket stove is sitting at home in a box from REI right now. Apparently it arrived yesterday, my wife said. Even though UPS said it was supposed to show up on Thursday and it didn't come till Friday. So yeah, I don't know what's going on there. That's not the first time that's happened either. I don't care UPS, if it has to arrive a day later, fine. Just tell me that to begin with. Don't tell me it's going to show up a certain day when apparently consistently that it's going to be there the day after that, but I digress. It's everybody's favorite breakfast food, leftover fishy surprise concoction. Now I know this canister's not going to last very long, but might as well use what's left in there. Yeah, obviously these mess kits aren't really designed to sit on a stove like this very well. Maybe if I turn it around like that, I might, maybe a little better. It's a funny kidney shape to these, which does make them very packable. They take up less room and you're packed in like that round Morris pot, which is one nice thing about them. Oh yeah. I was gonna see if I could put up a little windbreak, use my microphone case. As long as I don't melt the thing. This might not stay up there as well as I thought. There you go. As long as I watch that carefully. Just don't want to melt the thing, obviously. Tastes pretty good, but mackerel still is kind of fishy and kind of I don't know, it's fishier than a tuna. Maybe kind of like sardine level fishy. I'm not saying it's bad at all. Just if you're gonna mix mackerel with something, just make sure you like fish first, otherwise you might not like it. And my little microphone case windscreen seems to be working pretty well. I'd say we're ready. And the gas canister's still not empty. Nothing like a good fishy breakfast. Keep you going. Okay, this would have tasted a lot better with chicken in it. But that's okay. You know, it actually tastes pretty good. I actually think, if anything, it tastes better now than it did last night when I made it. There's definitely some good protein in here because of the fish and the buckwheat I threw in. But fishy mackerel, teriyaki noodle, concoction, breakfast surprise. It's the breakfast of champions, believe me. Well, really, the only thing I have left to do is to finish my food and clean things up, and then get my stuff packed up and carry it out of here. I'm going to see if I can't get back to the other area and maybe do a short little hike. If so, I'll see you then. If not, well, I think I'll just bring this video to a close now. It's been a good few days out here, you know, 2 overnights. It's been a good time to be out. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel to see my upcoming videos, and be sure to hit the little bell icon. That way YouTube actually will let you know when I post something. Share this video with anybody that might be interested in it. And I'm Gareth from Mountaincoffee Outdoors. I'll see you next time. If there is a next time, after I've eaten not completely 100% properly refrigerated leftover fish soup. Yep, there's a new boat ramp here at the Carnahan Creek area.